Hello everyone, this is Brain Booster Sujata, SST educator. In this topic, we are going to discuss about the making of nationalism in Europe from the main chapter, The Rise of Nationalism in Europe, class 10, Social Science. Lastly, we have discussed about the how idea of nationalism developed among the European continent and what type of diversity was there. So especially we have talked about the Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Northern Europe also, which were the countries, what type of cultural and ethnic groups were there and what type of diversity was there among these people. So in this point also we are going to talk about the diversity among the population. And who were these? We are going to talk about the special groups, that is the aristocratic group, and second group is what? The common middle class people. So who were these people? What was the how the idea of nationalism developed among them? We are going to talk in this point. And what was the diversity among these people? That is also we are going to talk in this point. So first we'll see that the landed aristocracy, which was in the European continent, was the predominant class. Why they were the predominant class? Because they were the aristocratic group, means they ruled the various parts of the Europe. Different parts of the Europe were ruled by these aristocratic groups. So they were dominating the economics, they were dominating the politics also, and the social life of the common people, as they had the privileges by the birth. So they were the dominant class. Second was that they had the common way of life, means throughout the Europe those were the aristocratic group. Though they were ruling in the different part of the Europe, their living style was same. Their way of living was common among the aristocratic groups. So you will see that though they own the estates also. They own the estates in the cities also, outskirts of the cities also, having the largest type of lands, and usually their lands were given to the tenants on the tenure. So they were having the largest estate, dominant class, and usually spoke the French language for the diplomacy. It means what? Though they were ruling in the various parts of the Europe, and there were the variety of cultural or ethnic groups around them, ruled by this aristocratic group. But whenever these aristocratic groups came together for weddings, for the ceremonies, for the functions, they usually spoke the French language to create the diplomacy. So French language was usually used by the landed aristocratic group. Second thing is what? The majority population of the European continent. What type of population was consist in the European continent? So it was majority the peasantry group. Most of the population of the European continent was the peasantry group. Why? Because during that period, 18th century, the occupation of the common people in the European continent was commonly the peasantry. Agriculturist people were there. So they were the peasants. You will find out that west of the Europe, most of the land farmed by the tenants. Means what? Though the land was obtained or the owned by the aristocratic group, they did not cultivate their own land by them or by themselves. They used to provide their land to the tenants for the cultivation. So the land which was possessed by the aristocratic group was cultivated by the tenants. Who were the tenants? Peasants who took the land from the aristocratic groups on the period of tenure, cultivate it, and after the harvesting, particular part or the share of the production was provided to the aristocratic group as the tenure or the as the rent of their land. So they were the tenants, small owners who could cultivate the land of aristocratic group. Third, we'll see that it is the estates, Eastern and Central Europe. There were the vast estates of the landed aristocracy, but land holding system was different. In the Eastern and Central Europe, land holding system was there, which was usually known as a serfdom system. What is mean by serfdom system? Estate and in the Eastern and Central Europe, whatever land were owned by the aristocratic group, they did not provide their land on the rent or on the tenure to the tenants. they usually hire the people to cultivate their land, and whatever production was there, it was shared only by the aristocratic group. So it was the system of serfdom system. Next point, we'll talk about the Western and Central Europe. We'll see that Western and Central Europe, it was the area where the growth of industrialization had took growth in industries had taken place. Industrialization usually started in the Western and Central Europe. Production was mainly done for the market activity. So most of the population in the Western and Central Europe were the industrialist people. Most of them were the traders also. So as the industries were developed, trade was developed, it was the growth of towns and emergence of new commercial classes. Means usually we knew it that wherever factories increase, wherever factories are established, common people began to settle around the area. Same way in the European continent also, wherever industries were established, common people began to establish in the surrounding areas of the industries in search of the jobs or in search of the labor. So it was the growth of towns and the people who were engaged in the industrial activities, in the trade, or some people who were working as industrial workers also. So it was the new emerging middle class in the European continent during that period. So it was the commercial classes, and whatever activities they were doing, like industrialists produce the goods in their industries, traders trade the goods produced from the industries and provided to the market. So these activities were mainly done for the market. So you will find out that industries took place in the Western and Central Europe, but the originating place of the industrialization is what? Do comment in the chat box. What was the place where the industrialization took place first in the European continent? So it was the England, second half of the 18th century. Industrialization took place in the England, and second half of the England industrialization took place. But in the France and Germany, industrialization began to develop in the 19th century. So after this, means the people who were engaged in the industries, in the trade, in the market activity, they were known as a new emerged middle class people. So this new emerged of new middle class people, who were these people? Industrialists, businessmen, professionals who could provide their services to the industries, to the traders like bankers, fund providers. So they were the new middle classes. In the Central and Eastern Europe, numbers were small till the 19th century. Whose numbers were small till the 19th century? Numbers of the industrialist people, businessmen and professionals. Their numbers were limited. Why? Because industrialization has begun, but yet not developed in that manner. So number of industries were also limited, and so that the number of population who were engaged in the industries, in the business, in the professions, they were limited. They were the educated liberal middle classes, among whom the idea of nationalism and the idea of national unity emerged, and they were the people who worked for the abolition of the privileges which were given to the aristocratic group by their birth. So how these groups were, how the privileges were given, how these people work for the abolition of the privileges, that we are going to talk, but in the next point, next video. Thank you.